What's going on, everyone? Coming back to y'all with yet another knife comparison, this time between the Sanrenmu Model 9202 and the Ganzo Model G729. Now, this is an older model of the G729. I have my more modern model coming in the mail. This one was a gift courtesy of We All Juggle Knives, and I want to go ahead and say thank you very much for sending me this for the video. I am going to, whenever I do my full review on the G729, I want to show the older version and the modern version for way of comparison. However, from everything I could find, there seems to be no major differences aside from the opening hole. So I figured, you know what, might as well go ahead and record this video and show you guys how these two knives stack up against each other because they are very similar in size, price, and design. So, let's go ahead and start with the Sanrenmu Model 9202. Showing you the blade there by comparison to the Ganzo. What we can see on the Sanrenmu is a 3.5-inch D2 blade, Chinese D2, that has a Rockwell hardness of 59 to 61. On the bottom we have the Ganzo, a 3.4-inch Chinese 440C blade with a Rockwell hardness of 58 to 60. High flat grind on the Sanrenmu, full flat grind on the Ganzo. Which one is a better slicing blade? Well, I've done a lot of cardboard cutting with the Sanrenmu because I use this as my baseline of comparison against all other Chinese knives claiming to have D2, because I know this is real Chinese D2. And what I can tell you is it holds an edge pretty damn well. It's not the easiest to sharpen, but not difficult to sharpen either. It does take a little more time and it takes a little more patience. And the edge it takes is fine enough, but I can never seem to get that same super fine hair-splitting edge on this particular D2. With the Ganzo, with its full flat ground leaf-shaped blade, it tends to be also a pretty good slicer. It does the job, reasonably well. I never notice it binding up. I never notice it really having problems. It slices through things pretty freaking well. The 440C on Ganzo blades tends to hold a pretty good edge. It will go dull faster than that D2, but it still holds a better edge than, say, something like an 8CR 13 MOV. It sharpens extremely readily and takes a very fine razor's edge. In terms of rust resistance, the 440C here is going to blow away the D2. Even with this coating, or with this not sandblasting, Jesus, with this stone washing on here, this black stone washing, this will rust long before this will. So that's the thing to keep in mind. If I had to say which one's the better slicer, I'm going to give a slight edge to the Ganzo. And the main reason why is while this thing sliced really well, I would occasionally notice it binding up because of this large notch down here. And yeah, the Ganzo has its own issue as well, but I just noticed more issues with the Sanrenmu. And every now and again, cardboard would get stuck in this more exaggerated opening hole, which you can see is actually stepped. I will do a full tabletop review on this as well. But occasionally cardboard would bind here, whereas nothing would ever bind up in the Ganzo. So slicing is a slight edge to Ganzo. Edge holding is a edge to Sanrenmu. So, like all things, there's a give and take. You'll have to decide which one you like better. Both knives feature a G10 handle. And you can see I have the brown version of the 9202. 4.5-inch long G10 handle with a pretty light texture on it. And then we changed from the standard textured pattern up to this ridge pattern. Also pretty light. I'm going to say light to medium traction on this particular G10. On the Ganzo, also a light texture G10. This one happens to be the green version. Light to medium texture on this as well. Between the two of them, there really isn't too much difference in terms of traction. What about ergonomics? The Ganzo is extremely comfortable in hand. I mean, it just fits beautifully. You have this finger choil, so you can choke up on it, get more control. I don't notice any hot spots with the knife. With the Sanrenmu, it's also a pretty comfortable knife. However, there are some ergonomic flaws. The G10 backspacer here is textured and cut really sharply on these jimping notches. So while it provides excellent traction, it does bite into the hand a little bit, especially the section back here where it runs proud for the lanyard bail. And additionally, the deep carry clip can cause some very small hot spots when really bearing down on the knife. So in the ergonomics department, the Ganzo actually holds up a bit better than the Sanrenmu. However, again, all things come with give and take, because the traction on the Sanrenmu's jimping is non-existent. It's basically just aesthetic. You don't get any real purchase on that whatsoever. Whereas with the Sanrenmu, we have extremely functional jibbing top side of that ramp that really locks the thumb in, as well as, again, that very functional jibbing on the back if you're holding this in a reverse grip. Say you're entering into a fighting situation and you put the knife in a reverse grip. So again, you have a pro and a con with each one. This has better jimping, this has better ergonomics. What about the pocket clip? Well, the pocket clip on the Sanrenmu is a loop over deep carry that can be reversed to the other side. The Ganzo, a more traditional spoon-built clip, also reversible over to the left-hand side. And because these both have opening holes and axis locks, that makes both fully ambidextrous. So let's go ahead and show how they look in the pocket and how they carry. The Sanrenmu berry is a bit deeper, and many of you are going to prefer that, but it's not a full deep carry clip. I happen to like the Ganzo just a tiny bit better. This is a little more easy to grab onto, though I do find this to be perfectly adequate. Everyone's preferences with pocket clips will vary, obviously. In terms of tension, good strong tension on the Sanrenmu, slightly less tension on the Ganzo. But however, I've never noticed either one of them having a problem gripping to my pocket. Lanyard holes on both. You could easily fit 550 cord through here, but you could really easily fit it through the Sanrenmu, so this is definitely the slightly better lanyard hole for those who care about attaching a lanyard. I forgot to mention deployment and lockup. They both deploy via a thumb hole. The Sanrenmu has this kind of unique design with a stepped interior for traction, while the Ganzo uses a more traditional spider-type hole. The Ganzo comes out wicked fast and locks up like a vault. There's no play on this knife in any direction. With its G-lock or axis lock or bolster lock or whatever the term we're trying to use for it now. For me, it's always going to be an axis lock. And it just comes out super nice. It's easy to, if I don't hit my reviewing surface, it's easy to flick open and close with its axis lock. The Sanrenmu comes out a little bit slower just because it's a little bit more difficult to get a good purchase into the thumb hole, but it still comes out pretty quick. And the axis lock on this one is actually even smoother. It requires far less tension to get a grip on this axis lock because it's not as stiff as with the Ganzos. This is still very usable to actuate, but this feels closer to a benchmade axis lock in terms of the tension on the spring. How does it lock up? Bank bolt. There's no play in this thing. And they both have adjustable pivot points that we could take any play out if we needed to. Price points on these two knives. The Sanrenmu is $30. The Ganzo is $21. So the Ganzo is going to run you $9 less. That still puts them very much at the same overall price range in my opinion. So I felt like they were worth comparing against each other. I forgot to mention weights. The Sanrenmu, 3.3 ounces. The Ganzo, 4.4 ounces. So this is the notably lighter knife, and you can feel it thanks to the skeletonized and nested steel liners in this. 420 steel liners to be exact. Whereas here you can see no skeletonizing to be found on these full stainless steel liners. Is that different in the modern version? I actually don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Whenever I do my full review on this knife, I guess we'll find out. But this is easily the lighter knife. So which one do I prefer? It's an interesting situation. I like the way this looks a bit better. I mean, this is obviously a Spyderco paramilitary clone with a benchmade axis lock. This is a fully unique design. I do like the way this looks a tiny bit better. Not even necessarily because of the clone nature of, or the, not clone, but the copied nature of this. But I like the sweep in this blade a bit better. I like the overall double textured aesthetic of this handle. I like the blue accenting on the pivot there. So for me, I like the looks of the Sanrenmu better, but I far prefer the blade steel on the Ganzo. 440C is my favorite blade steel. I find it has the best balance of ease of sharpening, rust resistance, and edge holding, whereas D2, admittedly, guys, I don't like D2. I live in an area where I have to take way too much care of it. It rusts out very easily where I live, and while it does hold a very nice edge, I prefer to be able to take my knife against a steel for 30 seconds to a minute and have that super fine edge, and D2 doesn't personally give that to me, at least not this D2. So between the two knives, I find myself kind of leaning towards the Ganzo for functionality, but towards the Sanrenmu for aesthetics and for other roles. So it's kind of interesting. It really is a pick your poison type of situation. You really have to choose which one you like better. In terms of variants, you can get the Ganzo in green, orange, black, and I think a denim gray G10. Whereas with the Sanrenmu, your options are this coyote brown G10 or a black G10, and that is it. So, hopefully this video has helped you guys decide which one you would want to pick up for your hard-earned money. They're both fantastic knives, and you honestly can't go wrong with either one. I own both, and I'm very happy to own both. If I had to let you guys know, I would say buy both as well. I think they're both worth having in your collection. But if you have to pick one, hopefully this video has helped you determine which one is the better choice for your money. So until next time, peace and take care.